All right, welcome back to the channel. And today we want to talk a little bit about some of the mods that we've done on the Interceptor 650. So the idea is to think about what are some modifications that bring both a little bit of style, but also, have some sort of functionality, the aesthetic and the function and how it works with you. The idea is that this is going to be a 3-part series that we talk a little bit about the external modifications first, the internal, and also just how it feels, how it rides. So whether you're looking to build a little bit of performance or make it your own, I've got you covered on some ideas. So let's take a look at the modifications that I've done on this used 2021 Interceptor 650. So let's start off with the Motogadget cafe mirrors. And so when I first had the Street Twin, they weren't the cafe mirrors, but they did swivel a little bit in the back. And that was cool. But really what I wanted for this cafe style bike was something where, so here's the functionality. I'm able to see past my shoulders. They're a little broad, so the Mickey Mouse ears that came with the bike, that was not gonna work. So having the cafe bars and the mirrors at the end, very helpful. One thing I really love about the Motogadget cafe mirrors is that it's aluminum, it's not glass. So all the things you need to do to treat glass and make sure that it's clean, whether it's a mirror in the room, bathroom, anything else like that, you don't have to do that with the Motogadget cafe mirrors. Very easy to clean. You usually just need a microfiber cloth to clean it off. So they're pretty easily adjustable, and if they were to fall, it doesn't crack like glass, right? The aluminum is a lot easier to maintain and take care of. Plus, it does, since I'm going for that cafe racer look, it fits perfectly. If I had other mirrors, maybe put, the idea of having the ones that are underneath the bars, that could be cool. I decided to flip them up because I felt like I would not be able to see behind me if I'm, and also I feel like it's not really the safest option. Is to keep looking underneath to see, who's behind me. So flip them up, fairly easy to see, and I think they look really great on the bike. All right, moving on to the rest of the top of the bike. So I'm gonna start from the top down, or the front and the top, and then coming down into the back. So there's this company in Canada, Sanemotion Moto, that's what it is. And so I got the throttle and I got the switches for the motorcycle on that as well. So the reason for the change was that, one, those things on the Royal Enfield, probably even on Triumphs and most others, are huge. Those things are real huge. So it takes up so much space on the handlebars if you have the OEM switches on there. They're fine, but I wanted a more minimal look. So here's the aesthetic portion. It's not necessarily functional, or at least it's a little bit of both. But you get to put more on the bars, and you just have a little more space. It looks like it has a cleaner look to it. And so the switches, they're more or less, it has the same button components. There's I think there's 2 extra buttons on there that you can program yourself if you wanted. I don't have anything else to put on there. I guess I could do my aux lights that we would actually talk about in a few minutes, but there's already a switch for that and I don't feel like doing the wiring. But one thing that it was great was that there is now a button for the DRL lights. I'll talk about those lights, the headlight, also at some point in this video. But there's a button underneath where I can just click it and the lights come on. So I can switch between DRLs, the running beam, and then they have the high beam switch, turning signals, ignition, all of that to start off. So either way, it's great. It's minimalistic. The only thing is that when you're turning the turn signals, it does, the click is a little bit soft. It's not like a hard click or a hard click left, hard click right. Other than that, small potatoes, I've enjoyed all of them. And the throttle ended up changing because if you're going to change the switches for the Royal Enfield, you have to change the entire thing. The throttle is connected to that switch on the right side of the handlebar where your right hand is. So since I was going to do that, I knew I had to change the throttle. I ended up getting Venhill throttle cables, and anyway, adjusting it to the bars. So either way, that change was coming, and it's absolutely amazing. So those Domino throttles feel like you have a good grip on the motorcycle and a lot of control. There's not a lot of slack. Now, since I did the throttle cable myself, I did the adjusting and all of that, but it's really smooth. Sure, it's somewhat made for racing. I'm not doing any of that, but the comfort and the reliability from Domino actually just makes me feel a lot better. I feel like I may have talked about Beeline before. I'm not really sure, but I can't necessarily say it's a modification to the bike, but where I put it, I guess, is specific to me. I made sure to put it right in the middle so that as I'm looking up and down, it's right straight in the middle of my eyesight, in my frame, in my line of sight. And so, I don't want to continue looking all around. I would like to keep a linear look to the bike, but also to where I'm looking as I'm riding. So I'll probably do a video. If not, I feel like I may have done this already. And if it is, it's linked on the cards up there or in the description. But it's a great device, very minimalistic. Again, goes with that idea. The Beeline Moto 2, the one that I now have, I had the first one, ended up losing it, being silly. Actually, no, I ended up keeping it out on the bike during the rain, and it's completely destroyed. So IP ratings are great, but when it's really raining, IP ratings are thrown out the window. And the second one, I got the Beeline Moto 2, left it on top of my girlfriend's car, drove off. That was my fault. It's gone forever. So I got it again. So technically I've had 3, and they're amazing. So Beeline Moto 2, great startup company. They've done a lot. They listen to all of their customers, and it's a better product than what it's ever been. So looking forward to the future with that. So now moving into the headlight. So this is a HJG, I think it's 100-watt headlight. So this thing, at night, this thing really does get bright. Now, the great thing is, and that's the purpose for getting such a powerful headlight. Some may say, oh, the draw. But when you're riding in a space like North Carolina, right? Anywhere that's not New York City or LA, all right, and the lights aren't that bright, from the streets, from other cars, from all the people that are on the road, you need a headlight that's going to be reliable, especially if you're not running aux lights. Now, when we get to that, I'm someone that likes a little bit of both, or at least the option. And so the HJG headlight, I believe it's made in India. And you'll see that some of these modifications are very cost effective because they're not made here. They're made in other spaces in India. A lot of the companies in India have great products, reduced price, same quality. So the HJG headlight, like I was saying before, they have the DRL option. So now once I changed my switches, I was able to get the DRL option on the Interceptor 650, which now during the day it's a low beam. It's a very low DRL light. The regular beam is hella bright. I was probably blinding people during the day before it. But, you know, as long as you're angling the headlamp and the cup the right and proper way, make sure to do that on a level surface, you're going to be fine with shining that light on other people. So it's a minus light. That's what it's called. And so it has that cool ring around it with the minus on the front. And so that is a very low light with the DRLs on. And then the back of the light shines brighter when you put on the beam. So I think it's great. It was definitely worth the money, which was it's not an $800 light. It was significantly cheaper. I think that's also something you'll find is that, you know, I'm thinking about putting the pricing on some of these too, or maybe in another video, go through the pricing. But yes, you know, certain things like Motogadget are at a premium, and some of the things that I put on there are really cost effective, great product, and has is more or less a great competitor with the other companies that may be, you know, may spend a little bit more money on. So that's the HJG headlight. I think it's great. You should look into it. All right, so from the headlight, let's move on to the CoLight, the aux lights, auxiliary lights. So I got these from CoLight. I think they're a Chinese company. So I know everyone says, oh, China's coming out. You're gonna be fine. So it's, again, cost effective. They're not like some $600 Denali lights, but also very bright. Come in two colors. I don't have to change the caps or the glass or the light in general. They already come with a white beam and a yellow beam. So for the price, I believe, which was sub $100, I get two lights, and I think I get 4 variations where I can get the yellow beam, I think it's the white beam, it is, or maybe it's 3, and then the combination of the yellow and white together. So it's great. I'm sorry, it's just when it's a little, I remember I was doing a ride to, where was I going? I was going to Asheville, and I stayed over in Statesville, completely dark, left a little bit later than I needed to. And those beams, they do work. Now, it does take a little bit of a draw from the battery. I remember I had that on with my heated vest, and you know, it was given my, I think I upgraded from a 12 watt to, I have to check again, but by the next video, where we talk about some of the performance and the internals of the bike, I'll have it for you. But, you know, it gave the battery some, you know, not some trouble, but it was, you know, it was putting in work. It was putting in work because it was chilly. I needed that heated vest at night, and I needed those lights on. So, you know, it's a smaller bike, so it's not holding the largest battery, but it did just fine. Even if I had the lights on, you know, if I had the lights on without the jacket, it wouldn't be an issue, right? But the heated jacket actually takes a lot more of the power than the lights do. And in the next video of this installment, I'll also talk a little bit about the power distribution module I put on. That also helps with this, with the power distribution. So the aux lights, you know, they're great. I've used them in the morning, foggy mornings, with the yellow beam. I actually think the high beam from the aux lights is actually better than the high beam on the headlight. In fact, the high beam on the headlight, you don't really even need it. You really don't, because the regular low beam is so high. The high beam really doesn't do much. But the auxiliary lights, they're a great combination. If you're looking for auxiliary lights, you're not willing to spend $400, $500, $600 on some Denali lights, go with CoLight. It works just fine. All right, also looking at the front of the bike, very simple. I got these TEC levers, so I changed those up. I just wanted them to be adjustable. They're relatively, pretty reasonably priced. They work just fine. I will say, in the hot North Carolina sun, the anodizing, or the lack thereof, I'm not sure if they did, has kind of made the paint look a little dull. So I had to do some painting myself. Did not do a great job. But, in terms of the function, they're great. Aesthetically, you probably could find better. But for me right now, it works just fine. The levers are great. Moving over to the left side, I changed with the bars. I ended up changing the clutch cable. So Venhill again, I used the Venhill clutch cable, and I chose a red tubing because it kind of goes with the bike. That's the aesthetic part. But the Venhill clutch, it's said to be a little bit lighter. It does feel lighter. It also does feel pretty good to in terms of the use of it, but also doing it yourself. You really get to see, what is incorporated into all the movements that you do on a motorcycle. So if you've never done, a clutch change before and doing your own cable, lubricating it, all of that, I would suggest doing that. All right, what we got next? So we talked about I should probably talk about the cafe bars. So the handlebars from British Customs, when I had my Triumph Street Twin, I almost got things almost exclusively from Motone, which is actually going to be coming up later, and British Customs. And so since I knew, some of their parts, but speaking specifically to British Customs, since I knew that some of their parts were universal, when I was looking to make a handlebar change, that was the first place I wanted to look. And I could have looked at LSL, but I knew the quality of British Customs, and I already saw exactly what I wanted. And so their cafe bars are not, actually, they don't feel that low. The original ones, I got some cheapies from Revzilla initially, and it was kind of low. It almost felt like clip-ons. Now, the interesting thing was that it still felt weirdly comfortable. And I feel like there's something to be said about clip-ons versus handlebars and that comfort. Because with the clip-ons, you're kind of hooked up to the front shocks, right? While the handlebar, you're starting off, even if it's pulling you forward more, with the bar just pull you forward, the center where everything is grasped onto is closer to you versus the clip-ons. So don't know the science of it, not sure exactly, but I have a feeling. That's why I've always felt it's just more comfortable than the clip-ons. So, and really what gave me the final decision on whether I'm doing clip-ons or the cafe bars was that I still wanted to mount things on the bar. Like, if I wanted to do a video, I can mount it on the handlebar, the camera. If I wanted to, Beeline or anything else that I want to use to navigate, I can have it right there. There's something special about having that on the bar right in front of you. Now, there are other ways around that, like, there are top, nut mounts that you can use, but I'm not necessarily trying to have that mounted on the middle center nut of the triple tree. So for me, the handlebar is best. So great quality. The paint is amazing. The anodizing is great. There's all of it's just top-notch quality. So I would go with that. But just know if you do that, you will more than definitely need to change out some of the cables from the clutch to the throttle cable. I don't think I needed to change the brake line. Maybe I should have. Everything seems to work fine, so we'll keep it at that. So, whoa, hey buddy. So we've got some, you know, when I transitioned to Royal Enfield from Triumph, you know, I ended up, I had to figure out, like, where am I gonna go to get my parts? So Hitchcocks, they have been a lifesaver. So you'll see from the bike, I changed the front fender, so it's a little bit shorter. It's not like a true shorty where it looks like a scrambler, but it's a little bit shorter, and it's aluminum and not that plastic mess. Same thing with the back. I ended up getting them in their kind of raw aluminum state, and then ended up doing my own painting. I think did I put that on yet? Again, I can't remember. I've uploaded so many videos of the last 3 years. I can't remember what's actually on here and what's on my drive. But did a whole paint job, changed it up, made it black. And again, another great process. If you've never spray painted and done your own painting in that way, I wouldn't suggest doing the tank because that's a very special job. But, you know, the fenders, small things like that, definitely a cool process. Something that really gets you learning about, you know, the painting process when it comes to metals. So the front and the rear fenders are like that from Hitchcocks. I also got some third-party parts from them as well, like the Radiator Guard. Actually, the piece it's doing its job. It's protecting the radiator, but a piece has come off, and I think it's fine. But you know, it's a radiator guard, so it's protecting the radiator from all the rocks and things like that do shoot up into the radiator as you're going. So I've got that from them, and also, you know, I got that from them, and then moving backwards, I got the seat from them as well. So it's I don't remember the name of it. It's the cafe seat, the solo seat. So I have two seats. One is the touring seat, like the full length touring seat that my girlfriend and I go, you know, we use that one. That one's really for just the two of us. I rarely use it because the padding is so thick, which is not necessarily an issue, but it puts me over the bars too much, where I feel like there's a lot of my wrists going on there. A lot of extra weight on my wrists. So that's strictly for her and I doing our quick rides around. Then the smaller one-seater, you know, that's a lot more comfortable because the padding is a little bit smaller, but just enough to be comfortable. I've taken that small seat to Asheville and back, Charlotte and back. So it is also called a touring seat, which is interesting. I guess it's just because it's a little bit more cushion than a non-touring seat. But both of the seats are great, but the single seater with the red on the back, that back cowl, if you will, really cool. Something I've been thinking about going forward is, you know, chopping off the back. I like the way the taillight is, and then moving it all, you know, frontwards, right? Chopping it off and moving everything in, taking a piece of the back fender and, you know, taking that off, a little piece of it off, and then moving everything back. I think that's going to be a good look. But that can only work if I were to get a second bike, because my girlfriend does still like to ride motorcycles with me. So I do want a bike where her and I can do our thing, but also I want one where I can have the solo seat and enjoy that. So Hitchcocks has really hooked me up. Also, So I was talking earlier about some of these companies in India doing a pretty great job. One of them is MK Designs. So I got those two side panels from MK Designs. I wanted to, the OEM bubble plastic cover, no, we weren't doing that. It's like I need some hardcore metal. I need it to be slim and slender, also easy to take off. So on the right side, it's a normal key, right? And it was fairly easy to assemble. Left side was a little bit tricky. So it uses Allen screws to screw them in. And I had to finagle some things a little bit in order to actually make it work. But since I'm usually working on the right side of the bike, where I'm accessing the battery, pulling up the seat to change the seats, all you need is the key and that works just fine. The bottom piece uses the key and everything, the original piece. While the left side, I'm not really using the left side of the bike. I should actually at some point talk about some of the relays, but that's on YouTube a lot anyway, so I don't need to go into too much about the relays. But once I've already changed out the relays, or doing any sort of changes to the filter, then I'm not really using or getting into the left side of the bike that much, knock on wood. But MK Designs is great. My only critique is the paint job is not long lasting. That's what I'll say. So, I wish the paint job was a little better, but I ended up getting it for a pretty great and reduced price. So I can't really complain too much. All right, so we're making our way down to the back of the bike and the bottom. So another thing I got from Hitchcocks, well, two things, right? One, the Sump guard. It's like the old school English made Sump guard. It doesn't protect the oil filter. Now, I was okay with that concession because I'm not, doing any scrambling. I'm not going off road, right? So I'm not really worried about where the oil filter is, something puncturing it. If something were to puncture the oil filter just going on the street, that means it was sabotaged or I got into an accident. And if I got into an accident, I'm worried more about the rest of the bike and myself and not just the oil filter. So it really is to protect the bottom of the bike and where the cap is, where you do the oil change. And so it looks cool. It does fit the aesthetic, right? It has a different look to it. And also it is very functional. Also going back from there, I ended up getting, this is like a Hitchcocks commercial. So the oil temperature gauge, I put that as the cap. I thought that'd be cool. And also it's kind of interesting to see as you're riding, and I kind of geek out about it, where in the winter, the oil temperature is only getting to 80 degrees Celsius. While in the summers here in North Carolina, that thing is really pushing 100. And sometimes on some days this past summer was going a little bit over 100, and I was getting a little worried because it was starting to get into the red a little bit. But it was really, North Carolina gets hot. So, that part, that's just a cool aesthetic. I like to look at it from time to time. It's just a cool addition to the motorcycle. Also, I got from Hitchcocks the chain guard. I got it through Hitchcocks, but it's from Precision. It's like Royal Enfield Precision. It's just a chain guard, not much to it. I like that it says Royal Enfield on it and Precision. It's already in black. Very easy to clean with some WD-40 if you're just cleaning it off. So it's a chain guard. There's not much to it. I just like the look of it. Also going back down at the towards the bottom. So one of the things I did, you know, when I made the decision to go into the, you know, to have a cafe racer bike and then have the bars as they are, I needed foot pegs that were adjustable. So I got the TEC foot pegs. Funny enough, they originally came with foot pegs from TEC, right? That were adjustable. It just, the color was not all that, and they looked like they've seen some days. So I ended up ordering a new pair, and it's been absolutely wonderful. I wish that they were a little bit longer. My feet are a little bit wide and long, so if they were a little bit longer on both sides, I'd probably like it more, but that would probably affect the clearance when making a turn. And then I also changed out the rear foot pegs for my girlfriend, so when she's riding, you know, they just fit a little bit better. The OEM ones seem like really tiny to me. Now she has small feet, but you know, they have a little more grip. They're a little bit longer. And I just feel like they were probably more comfortable for her or any passenger, but she's my only passenger. So I'm gonna go to the lighting, and then the last bit, I'm gonna talk about the shocks, and I'm gonna save one of the most, I wouldn't say most important, but some of the things that people really like, which are the exhausts. So I was telling you about Motone. British Customs, I used to use them a lot, and Motone used them a lot as well. And I just really loved the way they designed the lights for the motorcycles. It's very bright. It fits the aesthetic of any type of English bike you may have, and it's minimal, all at the same time. And it's amazingly well done. The paint, the anodizing, the craftsmanship is great. I think it's the Lecter light is what I have back there, I guess because of Hannibal Lecter. Not necessarily sure if that's true or not, but it looks like it, like the mask. So, you know, I had to finagle it a little bit to get it on, because again, it's not on a Triumph, so I had to do a little something, a little fixing to make sure that it was on properly. But that's the rear light, and it works great. And it works perfectly in conjunction with the Kellerman lights that I have, the turning signals. Actually, that reminds me, I didn't talk about the turning signals in the front. So let's just make this a turning signal. All right, folks, so it's been a while. I had to stop the video because battery died. Didn't realize that it died, so I actually finished the video. And some time has passed. Same cardigan, different shirt, different day, different haircut, same person. So we left off talking about the rear turn signals, and I was about to actually talk a little bit about the front. So the front turn signals, I ended up using the Motogadget bar-in turning signals, and there's a whole story with that. Eventually I'll get to the full story, but I ended up having to change those out a couple of times. And so one side is the dark version, and one side is the regular version. Now, the regular version on the left side of the bike is brighter than the left. The left kind of goes with the aesthetic of that black and the dark color, which it gives it a little character. We can say that, but I'm not changing it again. There's no way I'm changing that again. So in terms of the way they look while you're riding, turning at night, they're pretty bright. So definitely visible to, folks who are behind you. So it's kind of like you're getting that double lighting situation where the Kellerman lights, you can see the Kellerman lights perfectly from behind because of the way they're situated with the rear shocks. And also, you know, you can see the some of the bar end light. You can see some of the bar end lighting as well from behind. So for me, it just feels a lot safer because you're just, you know, when you're signaling for a turn, you're getting it from all sides and you're able to actually see what's going on. People can anticipate what you're doing. So now going from that, going back down to the bottom. So from the turn signals going down, now we have the YSS suspension, the rear suspension. So that was an aesthetic, somewhat aesthetic and somewhat necessary change. I wanted the ability to have just full customization over the feel of the suspension. And I still have to do the front suspension at some point. But for the rear suspension, it's pretty smooth when I'm riding, whether it's back roads, on the highway. I feel pretty planted. And, you know, I'm able to adjust it. I'm looking to do some sort of adjusting with something I saw on Instagram. I saw some device that you could hook up to the bike, to the seat, I think, or one of the, or the frame, and kind of adjust the suspension to your weight and comfort level. So I plan on doing that at some point. Aesthetically, it fits the, you know, the black, the look of the bike. And, you know, I'm really able to, something I liked is that it's actually reversible. You don't have to have the label facing outwardly. You can actually have the label facing inward. So I didn't want the label of YSS on the bike, to be honest. I like that it was just a straight black look. So I just reversed them and they work great. There's a very minor, small adjustment, which was I have these silver billet Motone, what are they called? Tire caps. So they did look nice. I've had them on the last bike, but they were in the brass look. This time I got it with the silver. It fits the bike better, and it's just a little something. So if you're liking this video, we're about a little over 8,000 subscribers. So I would like to keep that going. If you like the detail of this, if you like POV rides, if you like those engine sound rides, if you like reviews on bikes, I try to do a little bit more of that. If you like talking about modifications, thinking about what it's like to own a motorcycle while not owning your own garage, a lot of parts of this channel, and the addition of the photography, bike photography, car photography, and also just photography in general. Usually I do that off the bikes. If you're liking all that, and if you want all that, please like, comment, and subscribe. All right, so that's the video. That's what the bike looks like. There's been a lot of changes over, what's it been? It's almost 2 years. And, you know, some for aesthetic reasons, some for the vanity of the bike, but also a lot for the comfort as well, and the style. So, you know, at the end of the day, you just have to have a bike that suits you and what your vision for it is and how you want it to look. It doesn't have to look it doesn't have to look like anyone else's bike. It doesn't have to look stock. It doesn't have to look like what you see on Instagram or on YouTube. It just has to look like what you want it to look like. That's why you spend money on it. So with that said, coming up, there'll be another video talking about a lot of the external changes and modifications that I've made to the filter, you know, engine, and some things coming up. So if you want to see more like this, click on either the playlist over here or one of these videos that is best for you.